US President Donald Trump has said that China is on schedule to buy farm products from the United States. Trump has told Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent to tell China to speed up the purchase of farm products. He has also added that the United States' relationship with China has been good. This comes as Trump had earlier removed tariffs on some foreign agricultural products, including staples such as beef and coffee. The White House released a list of farm goods that would no longer be subject to 10% reciprocal tariffs levied on trading partners. The tariff rollback went into effect immediately. Now for this discussion, we welcome Dr. and Professor Asta Chadha. She's a rhythmic and associate professor of international relations, joins us live from Kyoto, Japan. Thank you very much, Dr. Asta, for joining us again. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Hasina.
Now, what do you think? What is happening with U.S.-China? Do you think U.S. is just pressuring without a specific plan that they have agreed on China to accelerate the farm product purchases, or do you think they have a proper timeline and plan in place?
Yeah, thanks, Asuma. I mean, if you look at how President Trump has been, handling his foreign policy with a combination of economic coercive measures and, a possibility of conflict escalation with any of the countries that are not willing to cooperate with the United States, it looks only obvious and only, correct for United States then under President Trump to expect its partners, and specifically strategic partners that could also be strategic rivals, to be able to trade and help United States, establish its, if you've been following the MAGA sort of objective that has pretty much been to revive the US economy and put it at the center of all these trade deals that President Trump has been trying to strike. So given the fact that China is willing to do the same and the United States is cooperating, it should only be seen within its economic sphere and nothing beyond it, because their strategic rivalry still remains intact.
And do you think should U.S. pressure China to accelerate farm product purchases, or do you think that this could happen, that it will force China to determine the pace of of the purchases of U.S. goods?
I mean, at this moment, as long as China is willing to cooperate and, agree to buying some of those products or import the US farm products, I think US is going to be content. We might probably see more coercion and probably more tariff threats if China rolls back its policy. And let's remember, I mean, this US-China relationship, I mean, howsoever entangled it is not just in the economic sphere. They also have a lot of disagreements in the strategic sphere, specifically when we talk about the Indo-Pacific security issues. So anything that happens on the geopolitical or security front is likely to impact the geo-economic and the trade front and vice versa. So any possibility of President Trump or the Trump administration to further coerce China remains open, but not in the very short run.
And what are the political long-term effects if U.S. keeps, relying on China to buy their farm goods? And is there any other country that U.S. can look into to kind of counterbalance depending on China like this in terms of their farm goods?
Well, I mean, we do remember that earlier President Trump wanted to strike a trade deal with India as well. And we know that India has been, I mean, at least the agricultural sector in India is a very sensitive subject, and it's not really open as the other sector in terms of private investment and imports. So we know that that deal did not go through exactly how President Trump wanted, and the next biggest market in those terms is China. Though US does have other markets across the globe, but none as big as China and India in terms of the population and in terms of the production of or consumption of farm products. That's one. Two, it does seem that the Trump presidency needs to rethink probably, its strategy, because too much heavy reliance on China pretty much goes against US's own vision in the longer run or even in the medium run to de-risk dependence on China and de-risk and separate their, not exactly decouple, but in some way maintain alternative supply chains and alternative trade partners. And the fact that US is now currently, going back on its word in some ways, at least in terms of trade, and trying to have China as its main partner or China as a very key partner, just shows yet again how dependent and interdependent those two countries are. Howsoever much tighter their strategic rivalry might be, but their geo economic entanglements remain very much intact.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for emphasizing that and bringing that up. Dr. Chadha, please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving on, Chinese Premier Li Qiang says that China's determination and position on